2013. We will be interviewing Emil Tucker of the East Cleveland Fire Department. He is the first African American firefighter in the city of East Cleveland. How you doing today, Mr. Tucker?
Fine, thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good, good. Could you tell me about yourself and the history of your family?
Basically, I was born in 1946. I was raised in the Glenville area, off 105 between St. Clair and Superior Avenue. It was a nice community. It was a very Jewish community back then. I had a number of relatives that lived right next door, so I had a built-in family. I had 2 brothers, one 2 years younger than myself, another 11 years younger than myself, and a mom and a dad. And my mom was a beautician, and my dad worked for the, at the time, bread company. It used to be called NBC. I think now it's Millbrook.
Okay.
I used to go to work with him during the summer time when I was very young. And that's about it.
I guess NBC, the bread company, that was National Bread Company?
National, yes.
Yeah.
National Biscuit, you're right, absolutely.
Okay. Right, yeah. And did you go to Glenville?
I attended Glenville, yeah. As an elementary school, I went to Miles Standish.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's where Mike White went, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I attended junior high, Empire Junior High. And then I attended Glenville.
What was it like back then?
It was real nice. It was quiet. You know, you had doctors, lawyers, many professional people that were living all around us on every street.
Right.
Everybody knew everyone. It was just enjoyable, peaceful. You walked to school. No real problems back then. Enjoyable, really enjoyable.
Were those times of prosperity in this area?
Yes, absolutely. Of course, you know, some people might have had it rough. Very few families you would see like that. But it was nice because the adults, they took care. You had block parties back then.
Mm-hmm.
And the adults, you know, watched out for the young people all the time.
Right.
And it was just very, very enjoyable.
Right.
All the time growing up. I never really saw anything until I went to the service, came back after they had the riots.
Okay.
Yeah, and then everything was changed from that moment on.
So you were in the service during that time?
Yeah, from 66 to 68,
Okay.
I was in the service. And it was, matter of fact, the riot started right where I was living at the time. My wife was there. I was in the service, but 124th Street, right on the corner. Yeah. That's where it all started.
That was right after the death of Martin Luther King, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, that really, I was shocked when I came back home and saw tanks in the street, and it was strange for me.
Yeah, after serving in the military.
Oh, yeah.
Did you go overseas?
Yes, I did, but not to Vietnam, thank goodness. I went to Germany, Munich, Germany. As a matter of fact, I was stationed at Dachau. Yeah, one of the places where they had the camps for the Jewish people.
Wow.
That was the education too.
I bet it was. Yeah. I mean, that was where the concentration camp.
That was right there.
I know.
We were stationed right there at that concentration camp.
Wow.
Inside it. So yeah, it was the mausoleum was right next door. So I used to pay. You know, we used to go over there and look at all the documentation about, you know, when they would exterminate the Jews.
Right, right. Can you think back to your earliest memories of East Cleveland and tell me what life was like then? When did you move to East Cleveland?
Well, I actually moved to East Cleveland in about, I think it was 71. I came to East Cleveland when I joined the fire department.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in Cleveland at the time, and that was in 69.
Mm-hmm.
I really love the city. That's why I moved here so quick. It was nice. Things were set up nice. They had all kind of things for the community to do. I like the way things were run back then. Mm-hmm. Everything, you know, you had stickers on your car to let people know, and the safety department know that you were a resident here. You know, you didn't. They treated you nice. They were happy to see you. If you had that sticker on your windshield, you know, Hey, they may have stopped you for a traffic violation, or maybe you were parking in the wrong spot. Hey, have a nice day. Hope you remember not to do this again.
Mhm.
You know, that's the way, to me, life should be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's not like that anymore.
It's probably like that in some communities.
Somewhere, yeah, somewhere I'm sure. But you see those changes come gradually, you know, and it's just disappointing. You should be proud to live here. It shouldn't be a stigma on you,
Right.
you know. You tell somebody you're from East Cleveland and they look at you strange, or they'll stop talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in a type of atmosphere where, you know, there are people that you really don't know. I go to a lot of conferences, you know, and it comes around to, and they hear East Cleveland, they clam up on you right then.
Yeah.
But so there've been a lot of changes that I've seen through the years, and I wish we could improve upon what we have.
Mm-hmm.
That would be good if we could.
Yeah. So we do have a lot to offer here.
There's a lot to offer, and to me, for 3 square miles, there shouldn't be any problems here. It should be like a village where everything's just almost perfect, you know. People get along, everybody knows everybody, the city is clean, okay, people respect the city. You know, it's too small for that.
Yeah.
You know, being on the fire department, I used to go through the city and try to match a house and say, I saw that house somewhere else. I never saw 2 alike.
Okay.
I thought that was so unique.
Yeah.
That, you know, there wasn't like a bunch of houses that looked the same, you know.
Cookie cutter.
They're all different.
Right.
And I don't care if it's just one window, you know.
Right.
It's strange, but that was beautiful for me to
Yeah.
see that. So, I hate to see these houses, these big houses go down. They're beautiful inside, many of them. And now there's, you know, they're abandoned.
Right.
They tear them down. It's sad.
That is sad.
Sure.
Yeah. Now, when you were a firefighter in East Cleveland, they had a different form of government here at that time, didn't they? Now they have mayor and council.
Right. City manager
City
back
manager.
then. Yeah. They had a city manager back then.
And that was, what did you think about that form of government?
I thought it was great because don't forget, first of all, you had to know something about running a city. Okay, different than now, okay?
Right.
People that come in now, anybody could come in and be elected as mayor. You know, that's a shortcoming to me.
Mm-hmm.
City managers, they were trained, educated in running a city, and I thought it was a lot better back then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have a mayor now that I think he has a degree in city management. I hope he does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a lot more to it than that. What I saw as a city, when the city managers came in under that form of government, it wasn't like that individual was running the city.
Mm-hmm.
He managed the city, and there's a difference there.
Okay.
The people that come in now seem to think they should run the city off of their emotions, okay,
Right.
their beliefs. That doesn't work that well.
Okay.
Okay, and I've seen that time and time again from those elected in the past years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What are your fondest memories of East Cleveland?
That's a good one. Really, other than the fact that we moved on a nice street, Hillside Avenue. It's somewhat isolated down there where GE is, the base of GE, and it was quiet. All the neighbors were very, very nice, helpful. Everybody that lived over there then when I moved there owned their homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And another thing that was nice about it was that many of them were were retired, and eventually either they died off or they moved to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
You know, excuse me. Same thing when I joined the fire department. I didn't realize it until I had been on a couple years that the majority of those people grew up in East Cleveland, and their parents still lived here or owned property here.
Right.
Okay, and of course that isn't the case anymore.
Yeah.
It's rough, and now it's rough to get people to be a resident here. You know.
So speaking of being a fireman, you were the first African American firefighter in the city of East Cleveland. How did that affect you? Or
You know, a lot like what I've experienced in life. some of the worst experiences are some of the best lessons that you learn. Not that it was bad there. When I came on, they had something, I was the last person to be hired under it, called on-the-job training. You know, they didn't send me to some academy to train to become a firefighter. The people there trained me. Okay, we had classes every week that they gave. That was enjoyable because the people knew they had to count on you as an individual to help them. When you're in a fire, you know, and two people go in, you got to protect each other.
Right.
You can't see, you know. Back then, it was interesting. I was one of the few people, they taught me to use a mask and everything, and I was one of the few firefighters that use a mask. Those guys were what they call smoke eaters.
Okay.
They didn't believe in the mask. What do I need a mask for? You can't see, it blocks your vision. You know, they get down, you stay down where you can get the good air. You know, I didn't believe in it. I said, I'm not going to have emphysema like that guy over there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And but back then, yeah, they would lead me around. They'd grab me and say, "Come on, kid," because you can't really see too well with the goggles on and everything's blocking. You know, but they would get the soot on there. But it was good. I enjoyed it. After they got used to me and realized that other than the name, the food we were eating was all the same, you know. Yeah, they would sit down and look at me eat and say, "What's that? What's that? What do you mean?" You know. Then when I saw what they were cooking and bringing in, because most of them cooked on their own, they brought their food in and cooked on their own. I said, "What is that called?" And I said, "Well, that's the same thing we have. It's called so and so."
Okay.
So once they got used to me, there really wasn't a problem. When they had the next person of color come on, who was an individual that I met, and as a matter of fact, encouraged to join the job, they asked me, they said, "You want them on the shift with you?" I said, "No." I said, "I think the rest of the department needs to meet a person of color themselves."
Okay.
So I think I never had a person of color on my shift for about 7 years. You know, I spread them out. We got 2 more shifts. Everybody needs to be educated on this job, you know, and it worked out great. It worked out great.
So it sounds like you had a pretty good relationship with your coworkers.
Yeah. It was amazing. I was just amazed by being on the squad. A lot of people didn't like to work the squad because you were busy 24 hours that you were there. And a lot of the guys were a lot older. Okay. I was one of the youngest on the job when I came on. So I loved being on the squad and first aid. I couldn't learn enough about it. And I couldn't wait to deliver a baby, you know, things like that. And they knew I was fascinated with it, and I learned all I could about it. There was a guy, his name was Felice. He was on another ship. We had a union meeting one day. This after I'd been there about 4 years. And he said, "Emil, they got a national search for the international firefighters looking for somebody like yourself." He said, "You just come out of the class where EMTs they didn't have them. They were just starting back then in the early 70s. Right. And I took a class. I took the first class, as a matter of fact. Okay. And I became one of the first instructors in the state, EMT instructor." He said, "You got those credentials." He said, "I would check it if I was you." And I said, "Nah, I don't know." He said, "Wait a minute." He said, "I got it upstairs. I'm going to run it up there and get the information for you." He said, "You send this in." I sent it in and I got it. Out of 500 people across the United States, okay, they hired 6 people, and I was one of the individuals that they hired. So, those people, they steered me in the right direction. I worked, a lot of them had their own businesses. On the days off, they would get me to work with them, you know. Right. So, no, I got along with them, and they got along with me. Excellent. It was enjoyable. It was a real education.
So East Cleveland didn't show a lot of racism back then. You talking early 70s? Yeah,
early 70s. Yeah, like I said, I started in 69. Nothing overt, okay? Right. There was nothing overt that you saw. Okay. There could be, I had difficult times for a while where, to be questioned about everything and constantly was something to adjust to. Don't forget, I was only 23 years old at the time. And it was rough. I remember one time calling department heads in City Hall and asked them, say, "Hey, could I just come over and talk to you? I'm on the fire department over here, and I'm having some rough times. I need somebody to talk to." no one would talk to me.
Oh, oh.
No one would talk to me. And I never forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, I said, I'll never overlook anybody else that's in the same situation I'm in. And I've done that throughout my life.
Yeah. Well, I imagine being in the military kind of prepared you for working in this kind of environment. Did it help at all?
To some degree, yeah. It was interesting. When I went into service, I went in as a warrant officer candidate as a helicopter pilot. And I think there was only, about 4 people of color in my entire, in 3 platoons there.
Mm-hmm.
And we all got together and, we had our wives. They didn't want you to have wives, but we had our wives there and we lived right. 2 of us lived together and the others lived next door to us. Mm-hmm. We were in Fort Worth, Texas, as a matter of fact. So yeah, I worked with a lot of other people then, and I became somewhat accustomed to the fact that you see that there is a difference. I realized that most of the people out there, I had never flown before. Matter of fact, when they flew me into Fort Worth, I didn't have a shirt or anything on because I got sick.
Okay.
Yeah, they had a small plane that was going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I noticed that virtually 100% of the individuals I was in classes with, they grew up flying. Mm-hmm. Their parents had planes.
Oh, okay.
They flew. They knew how to fly. They were accustomed to it. Mm-hmm. I had never been on a plane before. So you learn about things like that.
Right. Yeah. Now in the Glenville area, this was still not a predominantly African American environment, was it?
Like I said, we had Jewish neighbors.
Okay. So
and most of the property there was owned by Jewish people. Every store, okay. When I was little, I think I literally knew the Jewish holidays, that the store was going to be closed. Right. Couldn't run up there and buy candy. We buy candy all the time, to the delis and everything on 105 there. And so yeah, no, it was a very mixed community at the time. Right. It was nice. And everybody got along. Mm-hmm. It was absolutely amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why it was such a shock to come home and find out all of this.
Oh yeah,
turmoil
I really couldn't believe it. And you go to the service. I've been gone for 2 years. You go to the service and you're lost anyway because you're in a vacuum. Yeah. A lot of things change in 2 years. Mm-hmm. So, but to come back and see that and the hostility. And, it was interesting to see black people being proud to be black. Yeah. Okay. It wasn't necessarily like that when I left. Right. But now, and they had the froze and talking like that. And so that was interesting. But it was a shock to me. It really was. It took a little while for me to get used to that.
Mm-hmm. So being the first African American firefighter, that was a significant thing to do at that time in that particular city.
Well, it wasn't just that city, I found out. The minute I got on, the guys in Cleveland, mm-hmm. They wanted me to join their club that they had. And they told me, they said, you know what? They don't have any other people of color in a suburb anywhere. Wow. They knew in Northeast Ohio, but they were, because they knew people all the way through the state of Ohio, they said, there's no one else. You're the first one, and I said, oh, okay. I mean, it didn't change my situation, but, right. I said, oh, all right. So, yeah, back then, it was significant back then. Yeah. But as you know, things have changed now, and things have spread out, thank goodness. But, yeah, it was I learned a lot. I went to the first international down in Atlanta in 1970. International Black Firefighters Association, and I learned a lot down there about people getting through and dealing with each other and helping each other, and I was like that here automatically. Every time a person of color came on a job, I said, hey, why don't you come over for the holiday, or I want to let you know what I've been through, what I've experienced. And everybody that came through until I left, I stayed there 9.5 years. And everybody that came through until I left, they were over my house on holidays, and we we generally had a good time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's excellent. In what ways has the city changed over time? And what do you think contributed to those changes?
To be honest with you, I think it's all the government here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you have to think. I'm sure you've heard the history, or you know the history of East Cleveland, and all of the leaders we had here that have had all these checkered past, okay, and in dealing with the city, and that's where it changes. You know, you have to have respect there first, okay? If you don't respect your leadership, okay, that means the people in City Hall, they know more than we know. They don't respect what's going on. Then you may not take care of your job the way you would normally take care of it. Then that means you don't take care of the residents the way you should. You know, I remember one time I had a problem with my taxes. I went in and there was some young girl there. She looked like, maybe she's 19, maybe she was 20. Maybe she had to be out of high school, I guess.
Okay.
And she told me, I said, what's this all about? You know, she said, hey, we're gonna take your property or whatever we have to do, you know, to get this money back from you. I'm thinking, first of all, you don't talk to people like that. Mm-hmm. Secondly, you don't know why I'm here, what my situation is, you know. And that's things like that, incidents like that. That doesn't make you feel too good about your community. So those are things that change. I've dealt with top members of the police department, asking them questions to help somebody that lives outside the community that something happened to. And they were very negative. Mm-hmm. You know, I knew these people, you know. I was a police officer at the time. I taught in the academy, and I taught members of this person's family. And I'm thinking, why are you responding to me like this? Mm-hmm. You can't have that and run a city and expect things to go well. Right. Okay, so it's about individuals, you know, no different than the school system. The school system isn't run properly, and the teachers don't care, or the upper echelon doesn't care, and think the system isn't worth anything. They go out and tell everybody else, then nobody respects it, and then the kids don't get taught properly. Right. So that's how I think things work, because I think not only do you have to respect people, but people have to respect you and believe in you when you're in a situation. Right. You're doing your job, do your best job, but have people say, you know, this person's okay. You know, I know they know what they're doing and they care about people. Right. That's all, you know, it's not complicated. No. But we've lost a lot of that, I think.
Yeah. You were also a police officer in the city of East Cleveland?
Yeah. When I left East Cleveland, what happened was, when I told you about that I was picked fifth person, one of the 6 people rather in the United States, for a position. It was for the Department of Labor. We were writing standards for the fire department and combining paramedic training and firefighter training. Okay. So when you have an occupational skill like that, somebody's got to develop it. Right. So we were hired to develop it and then go around the country as field coordinators and go to various fire departments and institute it into their training program.
And that's where the EMT came from.
That's where that part of it came from. But before I left, since I had a family, I said, I'm going to back myself up. I don't know what's going to happen here, because they told me, they said, it's not necessarily long term. They say it might last 5 or 6 years. I said, okay. I said, but I'm going to take another test. And the only test that was available was for the police department, Cleveland Police Department. So I just took it just on the humble, just to have a backup and say, well, in case something happens. Plus, they made me resign, from the fire department before I left. You know, everybody thought, well, hey, man, you know, that's an honor for what happened to you. You know, they'll give you a leave of absence and then you can come back, you know, and they refused to do that. Oh. So I had to resign. I didn't want to. I had to resign when I went. So that's what happened there. So I went to the International, and ironically, I had taken a test before I left for the fire department for a promotional. Okay. And the then chief, called me up in D.C. and said, Emil, you're going to get promoted. I think you better come back here. So it was a hard decision. Right. I went there, I doubled my salary. Okay. Although my family was still here and I had to have my living quarters there in D.C., I said, I don't know. He said, Emil, you'll be home with your family, you know, I think you ought to come on back. You made lieutenant. He said, you'll be the next chief here. He says, I'm telling you. He says, I know you. And he kind of convinced me to come back. And I wasn't here, I bet you. It was the people in D.C. were nice enough to say, Emil, we're going to leave a spot open for you. You know, and we hope you come back. You know, but I know that the city's been giving you a hard time. You know, so I said, okay. And I wasn't back here, I bet you, 4 or 5 months. The disposition and attitude of people, there are many that were very jealous because I went. Not thinking, I came back to this place. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And a couple of things happened. I had to put somebody up on charges and a supervisor. And I said, I don't need this anymore. Right. And I went back to D.C.
Okay. It's good you had that option.
Yeah. It was good I had that option, yes. I always believe in options, okay? Right. Then my next option came after I was there a little over a year, and they were phasing down, and I'm making up my mind whether we're going to move there, and I'm going to continue to, because I was working with retired chiefs of the fire department, okay? And they were looking for jobs for me, and you know, for the there was 5 of us. One lived there, but there was 5 of us that came from other states, and they, you know, they knew we didn't have any place to go back to, so they were looking for openings for us. And my wife called me and said, you know what? They told me that you made the police department. She didn't want me to be a police officer, but she called me up and said, they said, you better get back here in a couple of days to be sworn in.
That was good timing.
Yeah, you know, but it was. But just one of those things about how life is, you know. And I came back, got sworn in, and I joined the police department, and things unfolded after that. It's just amazing how life is. You know, I had an incident when I first came through the academy, after I got out of the academy, and I got on the zone car, and a lady had difficulty breathing, and she was a patient. She had angina, okay, pains in the chest, you know, heart condition. And we had old resuscitators on the car. And I told the guy, I said, let me grab this resuscitator. He said, you don't bother those. I said, this lady's having trouble. Until EMS gets here, I said, I can relieve the pain for her by giving her oxygen. He said, well, we don't know how to use that thing. I said, well, I do. And I took it up. It was real old, real heavy one. I gave her oxygen. I wasn't back to the district before everybody had heard about it. First of all, they said, why'd you use it? That means all of us are going to have to use it. We don't touch that thing, you know. But what was interesting is that I had a lieutenant and a new sergeant. And they said, hey, I heard you use the resuscitator. I said, yeah. And they said, you were on the fire department before you came? I said, yeah. They said, can you give us classes? Okay, so I said, sure. I didn't have a problem. I'd come in and work early, come in on other shifts, and then give classes, you know, for roll call on how to use it. The one fellow that was a new sergeant there happened to live on the street with the person that worked in the academy. So after I was on the street for like 14 months. Police Academy called me up and said, hey, our first aid instructor is retiring. Would you like to come here and be an instructor? And hey, that just made it for me from then on. So it's just odd, like I said, you got to be ready, but how things work out, you know, and what people think about you. You never know what people are thinking about you or anything, you know. But that was really nice because I'm a homebody. I like being home, not necessarily on the street. Let me work, you know, during the day.
Yeah. So how many African-American police officers was on the force at that time?
At that time, I'd say we had about maybe 400. Okay. And I think totally there was like 1,400 officers on at that time. Okay, and out of that 400 were people of color. And as a matter of fact, that's another thing that happened to me. I taught in the academy from 81 to 88, so there was a lot of people. I taught the current police chief, as a matter of fact. So I taught a lot of people, and many people had encouraged me to run for the Black Shield, president of the Black Shield, and I never did. But during the end of the time I was in the academy, a guy convinced me to do it, and I ran and I won. So I was president for 2 years. I told him 1 term, that's it, I'm out of there. I did my job, but that was interesting to deal with that aspect of helping people of color all over the community and being involved from that point of view.
So this was in Cleveland area?
Cleveland,
Okay, so,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I see.
You can that's probably my wife. She can call her for messages.
Okay, all right. How has race and racism impacted you personally, and how has it impacted the city of East Cleveland?
That's a good question. It's affected me. There's no doubt about that. But it's all in how you deal with it and how you look at it, What I found out, decent people are decent people, no matter what. Those that maybe have jealousies and things like that, that hurts you no matter what race a person is. But in most cases, to me, you'll always find a person that's a decent person. If you're a decent person, they're going to look out for you. Okay? And I've had that as an experience all my life. I can't think during my career of a situation where it wasn't a person of color that necessarily helped me or advanced me. It was always the person that wasn't of color that I was working with. It was kind of weird because until I went to the police department, I had never worked with a black person. Like I said, in the service, there were so few of us when I went to flight school, I was by myself in my platoon. When I went to the fire department, when I went to Washington, D.C., there were no, I worked in the international office, and there were no people of color there. They hadn't had any people of color working for them. I went around the United States to all these departments. They weren't used to seeing people of color there. It was interesting. So no, I had a lot of exposure, but I found out that if people respect you and you respect them and you handle yourself appropriately, you don't have all those problems. It's usually small-minded people of whatever, that I've seen where you have the problem.
So you were born and raised in the city of Cleveland?
In the city of Cleveland, like I said, right there in the Glenville area, born and raised there, yes.
Okay, so most of your life, you've been involved in diverse environments.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. We had the great teachers back then. They were all other than people of color. They encouraged us and said, "Hey, you gotta be better, okay? And you can do this." And we had a great education, and encouragement.
Right.
So I don't know. It's all in how you look at it. I don't know that maybe having people of color all around you, I don't know what that does. Maybe you feel so comfortable you don't do certain things, or you think certain things are just understood. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then that's not the case. I remember when I went to the police department and I first got on the zone car and I was working with a person of color. I thought I came home to my wife and said, "This is fantastic." I said, "I've been on jobs all my life where I would go there and I'd be serious and I got to do this and do that." And I said, I used to watch the people on those jobs and they'd be laughing and having a good time at work. And I never felt like that until I got on the zone car with another person of color that we talked about the same things. We saw life. It was funny. We just associated in a different way. And it was amazing to me. I just thought that was the greatest period of my time, my life up till then. Then I said, I feel comfortable. I told my wife, I said, this is amazing, having people like this that you're working with. I never had that experience before.
Wow. That's something. That's very interesting. How has inequality impacted you personally, and how has it impacted the city of East Cleveland?
Okay, inequality as?
Inequality in the fact that you're being one of the few African American firemen, police. Was there inequality in your day-to-day operation?
That's interesting. Yeah, when I think of it like that, because wherever I went, it was interesting. I was usually the only person of color, as I said, and I don't think it hurt me. I didn't see where it hurt me, you know. And most people, you know, they would say, hey, if they came up with something, they say, Emil, would you be interested in doing this? You know, so I didn't see it like that. With the city of East Cleveland, I think there's a lot of things we just don't get that we're missing because of the way things are. And I don't think you get the best education. I don't think the citizens are treated appropriately. I don't think the city is maintained like it should be so that you have some pride in the city. You have a lot of older residents that are still here, have been here for years, you know. And it's rough being a resident in East Cleveland and you know, anybody hearing about it, that's where you live, you still live there. You know, we have people of color that say that too.
Right.
And you still there? Oh, I'd have moved a long time ago, you know. But no, I enjoy it. I'm proud of where I live. I enjoy where I live. And I would like it to be a little bit more safe, comfortable, for neighbors to know each other a little bit better. That's really changed. Like I said, I used to know all the neighbors on the street. Now, although I know some, you don't fraternize like they used to, you know. So that's what I think. You get shorter. You get shorter things like that in life, and that's what's happening here in East Cleveland.
So it almost seems like the inequality plays more of a part now than it did early on.
Absolutely,
I see.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah, you get shortchanged for where you are.
because it's
Yes,
East Cleveland.
absolutely, and that's the way it is, you know. But everybody loses in a case like that. The people that ignore you because they think you have nothing to offer because that's where you're from, okay? And on the other side, that we don't get anything because people don't think you deserve anything or that you're worth anything for being here. Right. So it's an interesting state to be in.
So it seems like other communities might get certain attributes from the state and federal, from the state government, whereas do you feel like East Cleveland might be put on the back burner, so to speak?
Probably in some instances. I think a lot of instances it's because of the leadership and the leadership, what they do and don't do for whatever personal reasons. Not that they're looking to do what's best for the community. They look what's best for them for some reason. You know, you can't run a city like that. Right. This isn't about you personally, and you think that you because you're mayor, you run everything, or that's not it. And that's all I've seen in the past. I mean, maybe you've seen differently, but that's all I've seen. I say in the last good 15 years, 15, maybe almost 20 years.
Since it's been a mayor council form of government.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. It's just not right. So until you get somebody in, and you won't get good people to even be associated or try to run for anything because they don't want to be part of that. You know, that's the sad part about it. I know a lot of good people. They say, man, I'm not going to get caught up in that. Right. You don't know. And I'm talking about people that know what they're doing, have good hearts, and just want to do something, you know. I know people like myself that would work for free for this city to say, hey, so we can improve things, okay, make things better. I'd like to be safety director. I love that because you know what? These people need some guidance in what they're doing. You can't have a police department like what we have or a fire department like what we have. And civil service isn't involved in. You don't even know who's on civil service. Right. Civil service doesn't do a darn thing. You know who decides who goes, who comes, who gets promoted? That's the chiefs of these departments. I'm sorry, that's not how it's supposed to work. And when people see that things don't work the way they're supposed to, nobody cares. Right. Everybody is taking care of themselves. And who gets hung? You see somebody hung, you look up and you say, hey, that's them. I don't have to worry about it, but your day comes up. It always comes up because the system is skewed. That's what I've seen. Okay.
Yeah. I know right now the city's going through some problems, some issues as far as finances. They just laid off 10 police officers. That's not very good.
No, not at all. And probably if you check into it, you'd probably find that it wasn't necessary, didn't have to happen.
Right.
Everything happens for a reason around here. And generally, the public doesn't know why, but there's usually some personal reason that who's ever running things, okay, decide to do, that gets us all screwed up. Wait a minute, you're dealing with the livelihood of everybody that lives here, okay? It's not right. But keep getting away with it, keeps happening, and nobody really cares. It's East Cleveland. You know what I'm saying? So that's rough. That's a rough situation to be in. It's a rough situation to have to be a resident in, because you don't have a bright look to anything. What's there to look forward to? Where's your hope?
Right.
You know?
I know recently they had just had a big incident in the city of East Cleveland, whereas all those officers fired on those two individuals.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, fortunately, it was no East Cleveland police officers involved in the shootings, but they still have to investigate it. Do you feel like they will give an honest investigation?
They may give an honest investigation. I'm not certain you're going to have a punishment that's proper. Okay, I would hope so, because this is so big, so outrageous, so unnecessary, so unjust. Okay, that those that did what was wrong will be penalized in a proper degree. That's sad. That could happen to anybody. Okay, but I challenge you to tell me what suburb outside of Cleveland that would have happened in. It wouldn't have, not in my estimation. That would have never happened. Okay, but it happened here. No.
And I notice how they're talking about these individuals' drug use, and they're using that.
Yeah, what's that got to do with anything?
That
That has nothing to do that a person was impaired at the time. Maybe their judgment is off or whatever. Let me tell you something. You're trained as a police officer to deal with situations like that, and to suspect that, okay, you evaluate when you're dealing with a person. Okay, where they're coming from, where their heads are. Okay, are they on something like that? Okay, but you treat them accordingly. You don't violate any of their rights. Okay, there's a way to handle yourself. Guess what? You're supposed to be a professional.
Right.
Otherwise, I can grab anybody off the street and say, put a uniform and a gun on their side and say, you're a police officer now. Now go handle this situation. That's not what being a police officer is all about. Okay? You don't jeopardize other people in the community by chasing. Chasing is one of the main things that you don't do, because you know what? Anytime you chase, almost 100% of the time, you're going to run into a vehicle, you're going to hit an individual, you put the community in jeopardy. But you don't have 60-some police officers chasing somebody down. Why? What initiated that? Why would you feel that it's this important? Okay? What did the person do to you? What do you know that you saw that says what you were doing is right? Okay? And I know the city radio doesn't allow all of you to go on a chase like that. Okay? There's regulations for that. So why did that happen? Then why did, when it got here, would you fire at a vehicle that many times when there's homes around there?
Right.
Your bullets are going somewhere. What are you thinking of? Why would you do that? Is that the way you were trained? You know, no. I feel very strong about that. That could have been anybody. You know, I used to teach people in the academy. I used to say, you know what? You're here to learn how to be professionals. Remember this, respect everyone. I said, because you know what? I'll be the first person to come after you if you disrespect somebody in my family. I said, you never know who you're dealing with when you stop a person and you want to abuse somebody or go beyond what you're supposed to be doing. I said, it's wrong. I said, you gotta respect people. And that's just how I've always felt.
Does it appear like some of the officers today seems to be overzealous in their assignments.
Yeah, in East Cleveland, haven't yet. I'll tell you, and rude. You know, they don't know how to talk to you. And I don't like making general terms like that. I'm sorry, but I've had incidents where you know you ask a question, or I had somebody. It was pouring down rain, and I was at the corner of Taylor and Euclid, and my wife was sick, and she had to go in and get some drugs. I mean, it was pouring, so I parked out front, let her off. The cop came to me and, why are you out here? And I said, well, my wife, and I want to run down the street. It's late at night, there was nobody. And this cop just went off. And I thought, what a jerk, Give me the ticket and move on, And that's bad. I saw another officer in broad daylight across from City Hall in the parking lot, grab a guy and slap him upside the head. I'm thinking, what is wrong? I see them flying through intersections, going on a run, when I know what the speed limit is for an emergency call, and to jeopardize everybody at that intersection like that, and you're going against the light. No. This is where I live. I may be the person that you hit when you do that, maybe I have a radio on, maybe I'm hard of hearing, and I'm going through, I know I got your green light. You don't come barreling through a red light just because you're in a black and white, There's just a lot of things in how many of the officers, not all, many of the officers handle themselves. But how do you evaluate what you think of officers? By the experience you had with the last one you had. And you know what? In general, it's negative. I'll never forget going from a firefighter to a police officer. What would happen, as far as people communicating with you? I couldn't believe it, Firefighters, they'll say, oh yeah, I remember the time this happened, blah, blah, blah. It was always positive. When people found out I was a police officer, it was always a negative incident. They always had something negative to say. Oh, I knew one that did this and it was bad. Or I got a ticket when I shouldn't have got a ticket from this person. It's all of how a person perceives you. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I just, to deal like that and deal with the public, I've dealt with the public for a long time, it hurts to see how people have something ingrained in their minds, unnecessarily by a few of the bad people. Right. You know what I'm saying? And but that's all about making up a community. If you figure if you run into a bad person that's a public servant, you think the rest of the people must be bad too, because the people in charge, they don't put a person like that in check. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just that simple.
Now, speaking of the public, when you think about your neighbors and just the citizens in East Cleveland all together, there seems to be a way people are thought of in this city. What do you see as far as the perception of your neighbors? And, well, not necessarily your neighbors.
I know what you're saying.
Community as a whole.
Right.
There's been a change.
A big change. And part of that change is the transients. Okay, you have people that come here temporarily, move in, rent, then they're out before you know it. Many of them you never see them move in or out. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the representation, a big part that the media sees or hears about. Something bad happens, the person lives in East Cleveland. They didn't grow up and and live here all this time and then do something. They happen to be coming through and moving on. You know what I'm saying? So. That's what I think people think about East Cleveland. I know many people, many residents here, many homeowners, They're all law-abiding citizens and mind their own business, and they've been here for years. And they maintain their property, they're proud of where they are, and that's it, you know what I'm saying? But no, I think a lot is transient behavior, I really do. And that's what, when you say East Cleveland, that's how everybody thinks.
How has, let me go on to, can you recollect a memory or instance when the community fought for something?
Well, you have a couple people that get out there They rally, and I'm proud that they do that. You see them on the same group. They're always out there on the media. You see them rallying about injustices, particularly in East Cleveland, and outside too, but mostly anything that happens in East Cleveland. The only time I saw people really rally together, which is interesting, was when they were going to close the post office on Shaw. People got together for that. Excuse me. And the thing was, I thought that they lost. I didn't know the post office was still there. Okay. My wife and I were going down the street one day, and we went by and we said, wait a minute, there are people there, you know? Are they open? And went in, and sure enough, they're still open. It's almost like they're keeping it a secret, but they are still open. But that's the only time that I saw people really rise up and say, you're not taking this. Bad enough they took our hospital, you know? That's the worst thing that I think of that could happen in this community, you know? But yeah, that's the only thing. I don't recall anybody really standing up for anything. You have a lot of organizations here that are doing things for the community. They have meetings, regular meetings, but it's kind of like anything else. It's almost like the theater even. Theater's here and people don't know the theater's here, and it's been here for 40-something years. Or when you're going to have something, the word doesn't get out. City Hall can have something, the word really doesn't get out. People say, I didn't know they were doing this or that. It's just rough. I don't know why. I wish I had an explanation as to why or what we could do to better that situation. Because there's a lot that's going on. You just aren't aware of it for some reason. Or the word doesn't get to you, you know? When I first moved to East Cleveland, we had a paper. Little old lady that got all this stuff together. She would keep you up abreast of what was going on, various meetings. And that was one of the best things that we had for the city of East Cleveland. When that left too, that was a big change. That was a big change. Because nobody really picked that up. People didn't know what was going on. That was a sad loss, it really was. That was a big turning point in how things were going on around here.
That was a local newsletter or actual paper?
It was like a newsletter. She had it formulated like a paper, you know. It was only like a couple pages, you know. You know, she did it on her own, you know. And it was professionally done. It looked good. But it kept you abreast of what was going on, you know. I remember I kept my copy because I had my picture in it. Myself and another guy got hired on the fire department when I was only two of us, and he didn't make it. The guy didn't make it. 6 months later for his evaluation, they got rid of him, unfortunately. And he wasn't a person of color, of course.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so those, you know, things like that are important. That's all part of being in a city and keeping the communication open for everybody. Right,
that is important. You know, they do have that newsletter, Neighborhood Voice, for University Circle. And I do see some things that people talk about in there. So you might, I don't know if you read it, but
I don't think I've ever. Where is it? Where do they circulate it?
They circulate it throughout East Cleveland and all around University Circle.
Okay.
But you go to...
Is it the library or something, or City Hall? Or?
You can find it at the library, you can find it at City Hall.
Okay.
And in different stores.
Okay.
You know, so
okay, no, I never...
You might want to look for it. It's called Neighborhood Voice.
Okay.
And they have writers that live right in East Cleveland.
Okay.
Yeah, so you might want to check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. How have surrounding institutions and cities impacted East Cleveland? Like Cleveland Clinic, University Circle, Cleveland Heights, you know.
Only thing I can say about that, I think that there have been many activities that I've taken part in that they didn't have here. And I've gone to places, the surrounding communities, okay, to deal with. But as far as what other cities have done and how it affects East Cleveland, I don't think it's in a negative way. I think, you know, they're doing their thing, and we should have more going on, you know. And right now, I don't think we have enough of what was going on. We used to have so much going on in the school system, you know, classes that you could take, really get involved in whatever you wanted. And I don't see those things anymore.
I mean, we are having this interview, and one of the best assets this city has. How do you feel about the fact that it's not getting the participation that it deserves?
It hurts to the point that I know how hard the people that are keeping it going are working to keep it going. There are a lot of people that would tell me, you know what, we used to come there. We used to take classes there. We were part of, those actors. And well, what happened? Something happened. Okay, if you used to come here, why'd you stop? That's the question I ask myself, because that's always presented to myself and my wife. Oh yeah, we used to come there, blah, blah, and I would always ask my wife, say, you ever ask any of those people why they stopped? Okay, and there were reasons. And again, how can I put this? Like I've been explaining all along, is how people feel they're being dealt with or treated, okay, or looked at, okay, and that changes things. So something changed along the line that made people say, I don't think I want to be as active as I used to, or I don't think I want to continue. So now you have to rebuild that. And it's rough rebuilding it now, because people don't participate in the plays, or that's not part of activities like it used to be. Okay, there's so many other things. You see most people sitting down going like this on something, really. So how do you get them to, re-energize, especially in like young people, to get interested in something like this? Because you're right, it's fantastic. What's happening here, fantastic plays. And you say to yourself, we should have more attendance in this. Should be more people in attendance, The diehards are still the diehards. They still support it. And it's wonderful. They feel so strongly about it. And they do what they can to keep it going. But you need the young blood. You need new interest. And so it's just very difficult. It hurts. And to have someone like my wife that believes in it so much, it's just rough.
I wonder sometimes, we live in an area where we have one of the biggest performing arts areas outside of New York City.
Yes, absolutely.
And I wonder, do they help the other small theaters around this region?
Yeah.
And they are neglecting East Cleveland?
Well, that's another part of it.
I wonder.
As I mentioned to you, what people think about, what they perceive about East Cleveland. If you thought what people would think that you can't drive through here without something happening to you. It's not like that. We have people that come here and they say, well, where can I park? Okay, well, we have parking. Yeah, but something might happen. We have secured parking. Yeah, but I'm driving to so-and-so in the, okay. Well, the odds are, and since I've been here, we only had one incident, okay? But the odds are you could go downtown and you have a better chance down there going to one of our places of playhouses or whatever, or something happening to you. It doesn't happen here. But that's what they perceive and want to believe, okay? Then the other group of people that don't know any better think that because it's in East Cleveland, there's nothing of value there. You don't have anything that's anything there. The diehards are the ones that get me. The diehards will come here. If they see a good play, they come here and they say, this was just absolutely fantastic. I just happened to read about it in the Plain Dealer that you were having this in the Friday magazine, and we thought we'd come. So it's there. It's there if you want, okay? But it's all of what's perceived. And the negative part is beating out right now.
I know at one time, the public library, East Cleveland Public Library, they were trying to, they had a vote on whether it should be turned over to the county.
Right.
But the voters decided to keep it. What do you think about that? Do you think that was a good idea? Because And we have one of the best libraries
Yeah,
around.
it's a very good library.
Yeah.
I can't comment on that intelligently because I didn't know the purpose of going county versus keeping it to yourself. I'm sure there was probably a financial reason for that too. I don't know. Maybe the monies weren't working right or something, and people didn't trust. I have no idea. So not knowing just why they wanted to make that transit and why we voted to keep it the way it is, I just don't have the information on that.
I see.
Yeah.
Now,
Excuse me. Let me look out the window.
I noticed when they took Huron Road Hospital away, which was a big loss to the city of East Cleveland, they constructed a clinic in its place. What do you feel about the new Stephanie Tubbs Jones Health Clinic?
I'm very impressed. That's where my doctor is. They have everything there for you. They bend over backwards to make sure that you health-wise, everything's covered. You know that. Okay, now this is you should have this check. You should have that check. I'm impressed with that part of it. You know, but when there's no clinic on the weekends, you're stuck.
Okay.
You know, my wife got very ill over this last weekend. There's no place to go except to an emergency, maybe at the university, where you're going to sit for 4 or 5 hours, okay, before you waited on. There were no urgent care centers anywhere around here.
Right.
You know, you used to be able to go to urgent care,
Right.
get waited on. There are none. They don't exist anymore. That's ridiculous.
It is.
See, and when you remove Huron Hospital from here, that's what happened to you. Okay, there's nothing. You're stuck. God bless you. You know, if you have something major happen to you, and they're going to run you to Metro or Hillside, you know, no.
You know, I noticed they built a brand new building right down here, Eddie Road and Euclid, right there. And there's an urgent care center that was part of the building.
Where is it
But
now?
I never seen it. Never
No.
opened.
No, nothing.
You know, it's been
We
closed.
checked. We called hospitals.
Yeah,
Where's the urgent care? Nothing.
I've never seen it open.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And now, one thing that I've seen lately is new construction of apartment complexes down on Lakeview and Euclid.
Right.
And also the new soon-to-be senior housing right next to Stephanie Tubbs Jones. How do you feel about that progress?
I think that's good. I really do. I think it's been a long time coming, and, you know, and with all the vacant buildings that we have and all, do something positive with the property, okay, rather than just leave it to deteriorate. So no, I think those are all good things. Just like I said with the Stephanie Tubbs Jones deal. I mean, I was just very impressed when I first started going in there. You know, I was a little leery, thinking, what are they going to do? But they're really on it.
Right.
I just feel good being part of it, having them watch over me, and you know, they have me in various programs to benefit my health. You know, so no, good. So anything like that, what you're saying, and those apartments down there, I hope that helps. I hope that helps the community down there. That used to be a rough area down there where they're building those apartments. I hope it helps with the security in that area, so people feel better and safer in that area. You know.
That's there's rumor that that's the first phase of more construction that's going to be coming from Cleveland Clinic and University Circle into East Cleveland.
Right.
Would you like to expound on that?
They're encroaching. What can I tell you? They're going to keep moving in. They see cheaper property that they can expand on, and that's what it's about. Okay. Hopefully that it'll be a plus for East Cleveland. You know, hopefully they're not investing in something and just let it go. It's, you know, like I said again, that they'll have security, that they'll maintain what they're putting in there, and you know, and that it should help us. Hopefully it helps us as the city of East Cleveland being involved in it.
I hear a lot of talk of displacement of East Cleveland residents in order to do this. What do you think about that?
I think so far they haven't displaced anybody because what they're using is something that was being unused in the beginning. When was the last time you saw somebody build a home here? You understand what I'm saying? So who are you displacing? You have abandoned buildings where the property is being purchased and something constructive is being put on it. I don't know who you're displacing.
Yeah.
You know, and like I said, there's been no new construction that I know of around here.
Right.
Okay, so that's it for that.
Okay, what is your vision for future East Cleveland? And tell me about the major issues that need addressing in order to better your neighborhood, the community, and the city.
Again, I would go back to the leadership that hopefully someone is brave enough to say, I'll run for mayor, and they're a decent person. That's really all I can hope for, that it's the mentality of the people that are running this city. How can it be the same and you have the same thing over and over and, something illegal happening and, it's just, you're tired of it as a resident. That, you become hopeless after a while, all right? No, let's change that. And I think if you change that, it would change the thinking of a lot of people that gave up hope some time ago, where they're saying, you know what, I'd like to help in that, okay? And it changes everybody's attitude. That's what I would like to see happen. Because, hey, I don't have that much longer to live. I don't plan on moving anywhere. I want to see something happen positive in my future before I'm gone, and for the community also. They deserve better. People have been here a long time that own property here. And you deserve, we've gone through this long dry spell, okay? It's worse than dry because there's been too many negatives associated with it, okay? Let's get past that. What was the other part of that question?
Tell me about the major issues that need addressing in order to make it a better neighborhood.
Okay. Like I was saying, it's rough. I know we have these programs going on here and that people have these community meetings and things like that. I wish more people could be involved in it. I wish the word could get out there for all the community that wants to become involved, to be aware that, okay, this is happening. Not that I hear from it because maybe I'm here with my wife and somebody from that organization happens to come and that's how we find out about it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, there should be some type of a way where, just like I said, where we used to have the paper or whatever, some circular or something where all residents get it and you're more aware of what's going on and you can take the opportunity to be involved if you like to be involved. And because I think a lot of people would be involved if they knew certain things existed.
Right.
But that's what it's all about. And once you get that, that spreads, the good feelings about what's happening. When people really find out that, number one, somebody cares, somebody's doing the right thing, okay, you know how to treat people, all right, and that it's a positive, because believe me, anything positive that happens, everybody in East Cleveland feels good about it. It's amazing. People are proud. I'm proud of that person, or I'm proud of that situation, They're really proud, and they can't wait to be proud of something or somebody, okay? We need that type of leadership.
And we do have some good assets here. Like I said, the East Cleveland Theater. That Forest Hills Park, it's a great park.
Sure.
Yeah.
How is it used, though? You got to use it so that the public can appreciate it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You have to make it valuable for someone to go up there and feel comfortable while they're up there, and which isn't too bad. We recently had somebody that died that maintained it.
Right.
He just did it because that's how he felt.
Right.
Right, yeah. He just died. Who's going to take that over? City wasn't paying anybody to do that. He's been doing it for years.
Right.
And I don't know if anybody knew who he was, who was doing it, or who made. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Hey, But there's a person that felt that there was some value here, and he said, I want to maintain this. This is what I'm going to do. And I think there are a lot of other people, like myself, that would be willing to do that, but not work with a bunch of people that don't care, or that are selfish, or that aren't doing things the right way. No, absolutely no. You know, just leave me alone. Let me take care of my wife and my life, and I got to watch out to make sure, hey, nobody does something wrong to me. You know, that's not the way a community should be.
So what would you be prepared to do to participate in making East Cleveland a better place?
As I mentioned, I'd like to be with the public services somehow. I'd like to be on the Civil Service Commission, you know, as a representative. Okay? So things are done properly. You know, there's rules and regulations to be followed. I haven't seen any of them followed. And you know, if you don't have that type of leadership or existence of what's done properly, then nothing can be run properly. Nobody appreciates what's happening. And there's no consistency to how you deal with certain situations, okay? It makes the safety forces really feel insecure, okay, and not do their best or feel their best. And when they feel that way, that spreads out to how they deal with the public or how they feel about their job, performing their jobs, okay? So I just think that's very, very important. Safety forces, I mean, I've been in it all my life, but I tell you, it's that important in dealing with the community. Fire department used to do so many things. I couldn't believe they were doing. They take care of little kids that maybe their living situation isn't right. They do homework with them. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause I said, I didn't know you guys did that. Yeah, you know, they do it on a regular basis. They don't think anything about it. They get the bicycles for kids, and nobody knows what they're doing with these kids, you know. They've had ride-alongs where the kids, younger teenagers, can ride along with them, you know, and see how it is to be on a squad, and you know, motivate them to maybe want to be part of that, you know. And there's just so much things they did in the community. They shovel people's driveways in the wintertime when the snow was real. I said, nobody's heard it. I said, you know, having been on the fire department, I said, nobody knows that you did. You don't get any coverage on the news about it. You know, they're just doing it because, you know. And I just thought that was wonderful, you know, but nobody knows about it. And there's many other things they do, you know, and not to shortchange the police officers. I'm sure they're doing something great, you know, but I'm just saying when you deal with a police officer, I guess unfortunately things have already happened or there's been an infraction of the law, and I guess that's how people get that perception that it's negative. You know, it's just a negative thing when you see a police. You don't think of police officers helping you, you know, like they used to perceive in the movies a long time ago. Oh, look for that police officer. Oh, you don't look for a police. You're not going to find one in East Cleveland, and we don't have enough of them riding around or anything, you know. So that's just rough. But I think that's so important in any community. That's the first place that I would go to. Who's running the city? Okay. The council people around them, okay, and the safety forces. And then you also have the judge that we have. I'm very proud of that judge that we have. That guy, let me tell you something. When you meet him, you know this guy's okay. He not only knows his job, he knows how to handle himself, and he knows how to treat people. You see that. You get that feeling when you meet good people, or you meet somebody that's right, what I call right, okay? You know it. You feel it, and it makes you feel different. Proud, thankful, because you want somebody like that around, you know, and that's just a wonderful feeling. But beyond him, I can't say I feel that way about a lot of people, you know, that are major people in the city. But he made me feel that way.
Well, Mr. Tucker, I want to thank you so much for your interview.
Sure, I hope it helped to some degree.
Very much so.
And I've enjoyed it.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add in conclusion?
Yes, that I wish you the best in what you're doing. I think this is very important to get this aspect out of, especially residents of East Cleveland. You know, I think that's very, very important. I think when people are interviewed, they think and speak about a lot of things that they don't normally speak about, or maybe they put in the recesses of their minds, you know. So it's very important what you're doing, and I hope it works out. I wish you the best in it.
Thank you very much.
Sure.